Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. First of all, I'd like to introduce the people up here with me. I have, to my right, District Attorney Ernie Lee. To my left, I have Dr. Barry Collins, the school superintendent. Bob Williams, the chairman of the school board, and Ms. Sharon Griffin, who's the county manager. At 7:01 a.m. this morning, an SRO requested assistance for an incident at Northside High School. There was a report of a physical altercation between students on campus that resulted in the stabbing of 2 victims. The school resource officer who was on campus rapidly responded to the scene, with the first SRO arriving within 20 seconds, and he was able to take somebody into custody. Staff on the scene provided medical care to the 2 victims until EMS arrived. Both victims were transported to Naval Hospital and provided emergency care. 1 victim succumbed to their injuries. Next of kin has been notified, but due to both of them being minors, we're not releasing their names. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the family of this tragedy. This is an active and ongoing investigation. We expect to release more information as it becomes available. Our partnership with the Onslow County Schools enabled the police officer to respond quickly, which certainly prevented any additional injuries. I'd like to thank our partners in this investigation, including the Onslow County Sheriff's Office, the Onslow County District Attorney, Ernie Lee, the FBI, and the North Carolina SBI. So I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Chief, I'll start. One of the questions I wanted to ask was this a confirmed stabbing?
Well, it appears that did, but we haven't got the autopsy report back. Obviously, this happened several hours ago, and so until we gather all that information, this is active and ongoing, but we do believe that it was a stabbing.
Do we know what kind of weapon was used? Was it a blade or what?
That's all part of the investigation, and it's going to take us some time to sort through all the interviews and look at all the evidence that we recover in the scene. In fact, I think we still have crime scene folks out there processing the scene.
Absolutely. And just kind of circling back over some of the notes that I made while you were talking just now. Just want to make sure we're clear. 2 students stabbed. Was a teacher injured as well?
I think a teacher was injured, but not stabbed.
Understand.
Any others injured in the incident?
No, nobody else was, to our knowledge, nobody else was injured in the incident.
And where did this happen within the school?
It happened inside the school in one of the common areas.
Okay, so fair to say that a lot of other students witnessed the incident?
Yes, and that's what's taking us, will take us some time to sort through that. We'll have to do interviews on anyone who saw the incident or potentially saw the incident.
Okay. So school is closed for the rest of the day. Parents were notified?
I can speak. First of all, on behalf of the school district, we send out our prayers and thoughts to the victims in this case. And I do want to say a special thank you to our staff who has done an outstanding job of being able to handle a situation like this. Our reporting system, the Raptor reporting system, worked well in this case, and everyone that needed to be notified was notified. Our principal there, Brad Staley, did an outstanding job of managing the situation as it unfolded in front of him. So far as the school goes, what we're doing today, we went into a lockdown, obviously, but because of the crime scene and the investigation that was taking place, it made it very difficult for us to be able to mobilize the students within the building. So the decision was made to release those students, I think at around 8:45 to 9 o'clock is when the first students were being released to their parents. But you have to remember, at the same time, the law enforcement was working with us to make sure that any of those witnesses, the names of them, so that we could make sure that we were not losing a witness during that process. So it did take a little while, but I do believe at this point, all the students have been released to their parents.
Yes, sir. And Dr. Collins, just for points of clarification, we spoke to some parents that were in the line. They said that other schools had also kind of been on a
Yes.
lockdown capacity.
Yeah.
Is that still the case right now? Kind of talk to me about that.
I do believe that our staff has worked with them to come out of that lockdown because there is no imminent danger at this point. However, in a situation like this, it is always good for us to look at the way that the situation was handled and if there's anything that we can do to make it better the next time. So those are all the thoughts that are going through our head right now, is how can we make sure that we're making this as effective as we can under the situation. However, I don't know at this time how it could have been done any better than the way it was handled. Considering the circumstances, we had a couple of our own staff who were right there when this happened. And one of those staff members were injured. The SROs, as Chief mentioned, we have two Jacksonville Police Department SROs at the school. They were there on scene within 15 to 20 seconds. So I just want to thank them for what they've done to prevent further injury at this time. The other thing that I need to mention is that at Northside High School, we will come back to school face-to-face on Tuesday. We will have a virtual school day tomorrow for students. The staff will report to the school. We have some things that we need to go over with them and how to address the students when they come back on Tuesday. All athletic events have been canceled for tonight and tomorrow.
One of the questions I wanted to ask, you mentioned that this was probably, to your knowledge at this point, probably the best way we could have responded to it as a collective. One question I wanted to ask, though, what does the future look like as far as security for Northside, I guess even for Onslow County Schools, if you want to broaden it out that way?
That's something we've been working on all along. As a matter of fact, we've put a lot of resources into the safety and security of our school district this past year with the addition of several SROs that would bring us up to an SRO at every school and 2 SROs at some of our larger high schools. And there are other measures that we've taken in terms of the door locks, the swipe-in door locks, and the cameras and the ring in. But there probably are some other things that we're going to have to look at. And those are the type of things that we'll be looking at in the next days and weeks.
And one other question I have, or the last question I have actually for you, Dr. Collins, that I can think of right now, but how does that kind of message work as far as delivering that out to parents? Because a lot of parents said they were just receiving the notification while they were still in line. They got called by a student or a friend of a friend.
Right.
What was that message that the parents received from either the school system or the Department of Public Safety? Right.
So probably what happened in those situations, you have to have an account with the system. So they would have to log their phone number or their cell number into the system for it to respond. So my guess is that in that situation you're talking about, they were not a part of, they hadn't set up an account with the system. So.
And do you know what that message might have read verbatim or just like a...
I don't know right off the top of my head. It basically tells you that there is an incident occurring, and it tells you, and then there's an opportunity for the principal to put in a short message about what to do.
How long were the students in lockdown for?
So this began around 7 o'clock. And so from 7 to 8:45, and at 8:45 we began a dismissal process that took a while because we had to do that in an orderly fashion.
For sure, and I mean, obviously just an hour after kids were dropped off, basically, we got there, but for parents who are unable to pick up their students, you know, what's the situation for them? Are they still at the building?
I left about 25 minutes ago, and there were still a few parents, but the vast majority of students had already cleared the building.
Dr. Collins, and this might be an answer for either you, yourself, or the chief. Was it a student that was arrested?
Yes, it was a student that was arrested. And I would also say to one of your other questions, the city also put out a Connect CTY to every account holder in the city, telling them that there was an incident at Jacksonville High School. Try to avoid the area because
Northside.
excuse me, Northside. Thank you. And to stay away from that area, and more instructions would follow. So that went out very early in the incident.
Chief, there have been reports that this may have been either one, a gang-affiliated incident or involving some students from Jacksonville High School. Is there anything you can speak to on that?
Well, I think that's part of our investigation, and it will need to be part of our investigation. Anytime we have an investigation like this, there is a possibility that it was gang-related, and we'll continue to look in that. And that's where some of our partners come in, especially with the FBI Safe Streets Task Force. We have a partnership with them, and they have a lot of specialties, as we do, in gang activity. So we'll continue to work with our partners to ensure that that if it is gang-related, that we address it as promptly as we can.
So, Chief, when you question some of the students that may have witnessed, or some of the people that may have witnessed what happened, was there any indication that there were any kind of threats made to anyone outside of the incident, or were there threats made during the incident towards the people involved, the parties involved?
Obviously, that's going to be part of our investigation, and it's way too early for me to speculate on what some of the witnesses have said.
I understand this started at 7:01 is when we got the report. The first bell, does that ring at 7:12? Is that when class starts?
I'm not.
I'm not 100% sure, but it would be around that time.
Okay, so, you know, where do students go before they go to the classroom? Is it common for them to gather in this area? Are there policies surrounding that?
I don't know. We would have to check with Brad Staley, the principal, answer that question.
Okay, for sure. And then, was the student arrested? What grade were they in? And then the student that passed, what grade were they in?
Look, all that is still under investigation right now by the Jacksonville Police Department. I was contacted first thing this morning by the chief of police, and I went to the scene. I was at Northside High School this morning. Quite a few police officers out there. We've got some very experienced, dedicated officers of the Jacksonville Police Department that are investigating this. We've got a lot of issues to deal with here, so we are dealing with a juvenile. And as you all are well aware, back on December the 1st, 2019, North Carolina changed the law where 16 and 17-year-olds will be treated as juveniles. There are going to be some exceptions to that. Just before I came over here, I was over there reading over the juvenile law again. And so we've got to make some decisions about that. In addition, certain things must be triggered, including contacting juvenile justice, which has been done. And we'll be working with them in order to secure the appropriate charges. And at that point, the district attorney's office will be following the juvenile code. And then furthermore, if this case needs to be in Superior Court as an adult, we will get it transferred to Superior Court as an adult. But right now, the investigation is still ongoing. We're still waiting to get some of the facts. I've got a lot this morning, but I still want to be able to review those with law enforcement, then make those determinations how best to proceed to the juvenile proceedings as well as to possible Superior Court.
Certainly. And what are the policies on weapons in Onslow County Public Schools?
Well, you're not supposed to have a weapon in a public school. That's the law. So you're not supposed to carry a weapon.
Sorry. My question would just be, you know, as obviously like everybody has mentioned, ongoing investigation.
Absolutely.
A lot of moving parts. There are going to be a lot of different people that are going to be providing information. How can we expect to receive those updates? How often? How frequent? And you know, obviously, this is a juvenile situation, like you just mentioned. But if next of kin is notified and there is someone deceased, can we expect to see a name at any point in time today? Just kind of talk to me about the timeline for information or updates.
I mean, I can't speak on behalf of the Jacksonville Police Department. In terms of the District Attorney's Office, I will not be releasing any names because, first of all, we have a juvenile here, we have a victim. I don't know if all the family members have been contacted yet. There's lots of information out there I just don't know. However, at the appropriate time, particularly when you do court proceedings, then a lot of that does become public record, and I can release that information at that time. But again, we're having to deal with both juvenile law and possibly going to Superior Court in this case, and I've got to make sure we comply 100% with the juvenile laws of the state of North Carolina, which we will do. I mean, frankly, before I came over, like I said, I reviewed the law one more time, and it's been a while since I looked at it, but I looked at it again this morning, and I met with two of my assistant DAs who also deal with juvenile law quite a bit, and they're actually still over there reading over some things right now, and I'm going to get another update when I get back.
Obviously, juveniles want to be sensitive to the situation. Are you able to release the one that is still in the hospital that has not succumbed to, is still alive? Are they in stable condition? What's their condition right now?
I don't know that information, ma'am.
That would be the hospital would
The
be
hospital. Okay. My final question is, what is your message to parents right now on safety first week of school as we move forward?
Yeah.
I'm Bob Williams. I'm the chairman of the Onslow County School Board. Let me just state for the record here that we have a very close relationship with law enforcement in the county, in the city, and the outlying areas at all the cities out there. The Board of Education has done an excellent job over the last 8 years that I've been on the board trying to make sure that our security and our safety of students and staff and the public are out there. We have increased a lot, as Dr. Collins had mentioned earlier. We put a lot of stuff out there so far. We've made a lot of changes, and we continue to do that. With regards to the parents and notifying parents and stuff like that, I got the notification from the city. I live in that neighborhood. I got the notification from the city early on in this investigation as well, so as well as contacts from our staff. So there's a lot of information that goes out as a chief, and as Ernie Lee, the district attorney, has already mentioned, it takes a little time for us to collate all that stuff, put it together, do a comprehensive investigation. So there's not a whole lot of information that I can give you right now.
For sure, and obviously it just happened, so discussion is probably just starting, but are there plans for resources for the students who, have gone through this trauma?
Yes, we have already arranged for counselors to be coming to the schools. They'll be there this afternoon to work with the staff. They'll be there Tuesday morning, I'm sure, to work with the students, and anybody in between that time could reach out to us, and I'm sure that we could probably provide some services as well.
I have a few more questions for
Sure.
Chief Nero, the SRO on
I would mention too, before you, that the city's crisis counselors were out there at around 7:30. So we were already looking at that early on in this investigation. So go ahead, I'm sorry.
No problem. You mentioned the SRO responded swiftly. Did he have to use any force, taser, anything to commandeer this situation at all?
Again, that's part of the investigation and part of the process that we'll have to go through, because we'll have to do a lot of interviews. We'll have to look at the evidence. Again, this is really early in the investigation.
And you said the teacher is also at the Naval Hospital as well as the other individual that's injured?
I don't believe the teacher was transported to the hospital.
Teacher, just minor injuries?
Just minor injuries. I think EMS took care of them at the scene.
Okay, and just rewinding, this is the only other question I can think of. I just wanted to say for points of clarification. This happened in a more open area. Was it the cafeteria main entrance of the high school where this actually took place? Was it were there surveillance cameras in that area?
Well, again, we're going to have to look at all the surveillance cameras in the school, not just the ones where the incident occurred, but the entire school to see what might have led up to that. So that's going to take some significant amount of time to look at those cameras. But it did occur in a common area, which is right inside the school. If there's no other questions, I appreciate you all coming, and again, our thoughts and prayers go out to the family.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Good job. Thank you.